Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Here's Eddie Frederick.
So glad you can join us. Trinidad and Tobago's government puts aside over $100 million to fight white-collar crimes. This story takes the lead in today's edition of Caribbean Perspective for Friday, 25th March 2022. Details when we return.
Hubbard's Multi-Department Mount Gay and Hubbard's Tire Bay, located at the Building Supplies Compound in Grand Anse, are reminding the motoring public that another round for licensing and inspection has begun. Just arrived on new shipments of quality furrowed and torque tires to fit all makes and models of vehicles at competitive pricing. Shop early to avoid the hassle of long lines. WhatsApp them on 473-405-5482. Hubbard's, quality service, affordable prices.
Welcome back. Trinidad and Tobago's Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley says his government will not be derailed in its pursuit against white-collar crime. He was responding to claims by a former police commissioner that he gave $35 million to pursue cases against UNC MPs. The Prime Minister, while talking during PNM's public meeting in San Fernando Wednesday evening, said there were some sitting MPs who, instead of talking in Parliament, should be speaking with the police. TV6's reporter Cindy Raghubatika Singh has more.
According to Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, his government in September 2021 approved US $18 million to fund legal support in the pursuit of white-collar criminal conduct identified by various ministers within their respective ministries.
I have been Prime Minister of this country. This is going to be my 7th year. I personally have never spent $1 of taxpayers' money. Not even $1. Never wrote a check. I can't instruct nobody to write one. So when the police commissioner says that I gave him $35 million, there are two things wrong with that. One, I can't give him no money. And two, it is not $35 million he got, but the police got to pursue white-collar crime.
Responding to claims by the former commissioner that the money was given to him to pursue UNC MPs, Dr. Rowley moved to highlight a long list of litigation matters within just one state enterprise over contracts awarded during the former UNC administration's tenure. He says when his team entered government, they met a situation where 5 contractors were making claims totaling $965 million against EMBD.
They concluded 13 matters and paid, in that conclusion, $43.8 million. You know how much the claim was that eventually was settled for $43 million? The claim was $593 million more. And listen very carefully. These are the active matters not yet concluded. And the contractors are pursuing this in high court and other court matters. $3.77 billion.
Dr. Rowley says this country is faced with a huge reservoir of white-collar crime, which was left over by the UNC. He says despite the many ramblings by the opposition, his government will not be deterred in its pursuit of these and other matters.
If I had brought more documents tonight, 2 documents I would have brought. 2 of them would have had on their cover the names of members of parliament who are in the parliament today, who served as ministers in this country, who you would not believe these are the wretches whose name are on those documents, but they're outside there in the parliament. Every minute they have a concern. Every minute they're in front on television telling you this, telling you that, when they should be talking to the police.
Cindy Raghubatika Singh, TV6 News.
More than 300 people took their own lives over the past 3 years in Trinidad and Tobago. The Ministry of Health there is urging citizens struggling with suicidal thoughts to seek help as it prepares to launch the National Suicide Prevention Strategy. Vanessa Cutting of TV6 News gives us more.
A total of 324 suicides were recorded in Trinidad and Tobago between 2019 and 2021. According to data from the TTPS.
TTPS noted 92 suicide deaths in 2019. They noted 104 in 2020, and they recorded 128 in 2021. We have a national average of 8.3 suicides per 100,000 population, and that 2019 figure compared very well with the global average of 9 per 100,000 and the regional average for Latin America and the Caribbean of 9 per 100,000. So we were below the national average in 2019.
The data further show that men are several times more likely to kill themselves. While the figures are already startling, it is worthwhile to note that the numbers do not include attempted suicides.
Completed suicides are more common among men than among women. So you see men in green representing more than 75%, whereas women depicted in blue represent just about 20% of completed suicides.
The data also show that suicides occur across all age demographics.
Suicide can happen across what we call the life course. In other words, at any point in a person's life, there can be the risk for suicide. However, it's more common in adolescents, younger adults, and adults in the working age group.
The Ministry of Health is advising persons to educate themselves on suicidal tendencies.
They may be sleeping all the time, just with, hide out in their room and just avoid everything. And very significant, sometimes they start to give away stuff, and that is often a flag, right? They may write a note or they may start to give away stuff. And then with regard to their mood, they may look sad, or they may suddenly transition, as I said before, from looking sad to suddenly looking very, very happy. They may lose interest in the things they normally enjoy doing or participating in.
If you observe these behaviors in someone you know, you should encourage the person to seek professional help. But experts say the very first thing you should do is lend a willing ear.
The first step is not, let's get you to the psychiatrist or to the mental health clinic. The first step is, how are you doing today? Tell me what's going on. I just want to listen. And just, listen in a non-judgmental way. In other words, we like to give people advice. Sometimes we just have to shut that off. We like to tell people things like, I know how you're feeling and I know what you're going through. Forget all of that. Just listen and give that person a chance to unburden themselves.
There are a number of services available to suicidal persons, links to which can be found on the Ministry of Health's website or by visiting findcareTT.com.
And we have completed just recently a national suicide prevention strategy, and we're in the process of working out the details of the implementation plan for that strategy. So that is something that will be happening in the very near future. And we are also at the ministry in the process of implementing a national suicide and self-harm surveillance system so that we can know in real time what our statistics look like, and we can break down those statistics by age and gender and things like that, so we know where to put resources.
Renessa Cutting, TV6 News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick.
The Guyana government has announced a further reduction in excise tax on gas and diesel, which will prove quite an ease for the citizens of that South American country.
With the impact of the rising cost of living being felt across the country, the government of Guyana has announced a further reduction in the excise tax on gas and diesel from the current 10% to 0%. It is the latest reduction in the excise tax on fuel in an attempt to cushion the effects of the increase in the global price for oil. Earlier this year, the government in its national budget announced a reduction in the same excise tax on gas and diesel from 20% to 10%. The prices went down for a few weeks and increased past the previous high price when the global price for oil started to surge. The announcement today by the Vice President is expected to see a minimal reduction at the pump, as the local companies remind that the oil prices are still high on the international market. One official said the reduction could be around $10 or just over $10 less per liter. The local oil companies are also still to receive any directive from the Ministry of Finance about the announced reduction. The official said they will act to institute the reduced prices once the official directive is received from the Ministry of Finance. The government has been facing ongoing calls for it to take steps to reduce the high cost of living being experienced by citizens across the country. In the past few months, the prices for various items, including food items, have risen exponentially, with many of the companies blaming the increases on the global situation with shipping costs and fuel costs rising steadily. The opposition has also called on the government to move swiftly and implement additional measures to ensure an ease for citizens who are being hit hard by the price increases. More news coming up in just...
In related news, chartered accountant Anthony Walcott out of St. Lucia is warning St. Lucians to brace for the long haul in terms of inflation. Walcott says it does not seem that food and gas prices will normalize anytime soon, prompting him to call on St. Lucians to take measures to cushion the impact. Don Nicholas of the DBS News World reports.
As global oil prices rise, local chartered accountant Anthony Walcott warns that rising food prices and gas prices will be around longer than anticipated. Mr. Walcott has been monitoring the situation closely and has called on St. Lucians to brace themselves because, as he puts it, this may be the new normal.
I think persons should not expect prices to come down anytime in the future. This may actually be the new normal in terms of prices.
Apart from the rise in food prices, availability of key commodities is a separate issue. A breakdown in global supply chains is delaying the arrival of shipments. He's therefore calling on citizens to put measures in place to cushion the impact.
Persons, accepting responsibility for themselves and making efforts to produce more agricultural products and food products, which would assist in alleviating the situation. But as it stands, even the prices of local goods are increasing.
Mr. Walcott is hoping that the citizenry will take note. For the DBS News World, I'm Don Nicholas.
Conveniently located in the Grand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Grandans will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
I am Eddie Frederick, wishing you a restful weekend. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean. In the meantime, please continue to log on to CaribbeanPerspective.com for more daily news and more.